Elkanah was a man with two wives. This was common in those days. His wives were Hannah and Peninnah.
I am deeply loved by Elkanah, but I am barren. I have no children. This causes me great sadness.
Peninnah, on the other hand, had many children. She often taunted Hannah for her inability to conceive. This created tension in their household.
Oh, Hannah, look at my children. Why can't you have any?
Despite the challenges, Elkanah remained a devout man, faithful to God.
I long for a child. I yearn to experience the joy of motherhood. Peninnah's constant reminders of my barrenness only amplify my pain.
Elkanah saw the pain in Hannah's eyes. He tried to comfort her. He reminded her that he loved her deeply, but nothing could erase the longing in her heart.
Hannah, my love for you is deep. Please do not be sad.
Every year, Elkanah would travel to Shiloh. This was a special place. It was where the tabernacle stood. The tabernacle was a tent-like structure. It represented God's presence among his people.
We go to Shiloh to offer sacrifices to God, to show our gratitude and devotion, and to seek his blessings.
The journey to Shiloh was a time of mixed emotions for Hannah. She was glad to be in God's presence, but her inability to have children cast a shadow over her heart.
Being here should bring me peace, but Peninnah's taunts make it unbearable.
Peninnah would often use this opportunity to taunt Hannah further. She would boast about her own children. This made the journey unbearable for Hannah.
Look at my children, Hannah. Why don't you have any?
One year during the trip to Shiloh, Hannah was overcome with grief. She couldn't hold back her tears. As Elkanah made his offerings, Hannah slipped away unnoticed. She went to the tabernacle to pray. She poured out her heart to God. She wept bitterly before him.
Oh Lord, I am in such pain. Please hear my plea.
Peninnah saw Hannah's distress. Instead of offering comfort, she used it as an opportunity to mock her. Her words were like salt on an open wound. They cut deep into Hannah's soul.
Crying again, Hannah? It's no wonder you have no children.
Hannah felt utterly alone and misunderstood. Her heart ached for a child, a longing that seemed impossible to fulfill.
I feel so alone. Will my prayers ever be answered?
In her desperation, Hannah made a vow to God. She promised that if he blessed her with a son, she would dedicate him back to his service. This child would be a Nazirite. This meant he would be set apart for God's work. He would never cut his hair. He would abstain from certain foods and drinks.
Lord Almighty, if you will only look on your servant's misery and remember me, and not forget your servant but give her a son, then I will give him to the Lord for all the days of his life.
Hannah prayed with such intensity. She spoke from the depths of her soul. Her words were filled with anguish and hope. She believed that God heard her prayer. She trusted that he would answer her plea.
I trust you, Lord. I know you hear me.
As Hannah prayed, Eli the priest observed her. He saw her lips moving, but he heard no sound. He thought she was drunk. He approached her and rebuked her.
Stop drinking and leave the tabernacle.
Hannah was startled by Eli's accusation. She explained that she was not drunk. She was simply pouring out her heart to God.
I am not drunk. I am pouring out my heart to God.
Eli listened to Hannah's explanation. He realized she was a woman of great faith. He blessed her.
Go in peace, and may the God of Israel grant you what you have asked of him.
Hannah left the tabernacle feeling lighter. She felt a sense of peace. She knew that God had heard her prayer. She believed that he would answer her in his perfect timing. True to God's promise, Hannah conceived. She gave birth to a healthy baby boy. She named him Samuel. His name meant God has heard.
Samuel, because God has heard.
Samuel was a constant reminder of God's faithfulness. He was a testament to the power of prayer. He was a symbol of hope and answered prayers.
I have longed for a child, and now my dream has become a reality.
Hannah rejoiced at the gift of Samuel. She was overwhelmed with gratitude. She knew that Samuel was not just her son, but also a gift from God. When it was time to dedicate Samuel to the Lord, Hannah took him to the tabernacle at Shiloh. She presented him to Eli. She reminded Eli of her prayer.
I prayed for this child, and the Lord has granted me what I asked of him.
She thanked God for answering her prayer. She expressed her joy and gratitude in a beautiful song of praise.
My heart rejoices in the Lord. In the Lord my horn is lifted high.
Hannah's song is recorded in the Bible. It is a powerful testimony. It speaks of God's might, his justice, and his mercy. It is a song of victory over despair. It is a song of hope for the hopeless. It is a song that continues to inspire people today. Samuel's dedication, a life dedicated to the Lord.
I left Samuel in Eli's care. He was to be raised in the tabernacle. He would learn the ways of God. He would be prepared for his special calling.
It was a difficult decision for Hannah, but she knew it was the right thing to do. She had made a promise to God. She was determined to keep her word.
Samuel grew up in the tabernacle. He learned from me. He became a prophet. He was a leader. He played a pivotal role in Israel's history. He anointed the first two kings of Israel, Saul and David.
Echoes of Hannah's faith finding hope in modern struggles. The story of Hannah resonates with people today. Many face challenges and hardships. Some struggle with infertility, others face financial difficulties. Still others battle with illness or loss. Hannah's story offers hope. It reminds us that God sees our pain, He hears our prayers, He cares about our struggles. Hannah's story teaches us the importance of perseverance. She didn't give up hope. She continued to pray. She continued to trust God. Even when it seemed like nothing was happening, she held on to her faith. The power of prayer, a lifeline in times of need. Hannah's story highlights the power of prayer. When she was at her lowest point, she turned to God. She poured out her heart to Him. She didn't hold back. She didn't try to hide her pain. She brought her raw emotions before the throne of grace. Prayer is not just about asking for things. It's about connecting with God. It's about surrendering our will to His. It's about finding peace in the midst of the storm. Trusting in God's plan, finding peace in the midst of uncertainty. Hannah's story encourages us to trust in God's plan. We may not always understand why things happen the way they do, but we can trust that God is in control. He has a plan for our lives. His plan is good. Even when we face difficulties, we can find peace in knowing that God is with us. He will never leave us nor forsake us. The story of Hannah is a timeless reminder of the power of faith, the importance of perseverance, and the peace that comes from trusting in God. It's a story that continues to inspire hope and encourage hearts, reminding us that even in the darkest of times, God hears our prayers, sees our tears, and is working all things together for our good.